Saturn and Jupiter are about 5 degrees apart, and the moon is going to be pretty close to Jupiter on May 12th, so that would be an interesting pattern to look for early morning, May 12th. And if you're curious about how what time sunrise and sunsets are and how it transitions over the whole month, as you can see, sunrise on May 1st is about 6:21 a.m. And by about May 31st, the sun rises almost half an hour early. And same thing for sunset. It's almost 30 minutes difference from 8:22 p.m. to 8:50 p.m. And I think that's all I have for this month. Oh, wait, sorry, comets. So we missed out on Comet Atlas, but you can still look for Comet Pan-STARRS or see 2017 T2, which reaches its perihelion May 4th. And this is another chart again from Astronomy Magazine, which gives you where you can see it. As you can see, it passes close to Ursa Major at various times in May. And I don't know if I put this in here, but there's another comet that hopefully we might have coming up, but it's still, and I just read something today that's actually a naked eye visible comet for the southern hemisphere. When it does become visible in the northern hemisphere, it will be low in the horizon. And if you haven't heard about it, it's called Comet Swan, or I think it's C2020 F8. So that might be something to look for. I think that's all I have. And I might have gotten the comet, other numerical numbers wrong, but it's called Comet Swan.
Yeah, I think that's right. It'll be in the morning sky though for a while there in May, and I think eventually transition to the evening sky, but it's going to be really close to the horizon all the time.
I think that's in August, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, it's not till later on. Yeah.
Thanks, Sonali.
Thank you.
Outreach co-chairs.
Everything's been canceled. Anything we had with the public anyway. I guess, do we want to talk about the our private meeting, our private star party on the 28th at this slot, or what? You want to do?
Yeah, we can. At the beginning of the year, during the public board meeting, we were talking about having at least one gathering at Astro Park per quarter. The Messier Marathon fell victim of COVID-19, and this one as well will probably fall victim to COVID-19. Maybe I should use better terminology than that. But hopefully we'll regroup again in the third quarter of this year and see what we can do. I know a summer one has got a bit more light, with the sun setting later in the evening, but there are always possibilities, as Mr. Spock would say.
Yeah, and we'll just kind of play by month, month by month. If you've checked the calendar, I put cancel on everything in May, but I've still got the events for June up there. Also, I guess, is Steve up? You got anything else you want to add, or is he there? He was.
I will unmute him.
I don't see him though.
I see him on the participants list.
Yeah, I have.
There you go.
There he is. There he is. Okay.
Steve, can you hear us? Steve Skinner.
I don't think there's anything to add, John.
Okay. Okay, I couldn't quite hear you that first time. Sorry. Telescope Binocular Loan Program Chair. Do you want me to unmute you?
Yeah, Keith, the space bar wasn't functioning here. Anyway, pretty much everything is out with the exception of a few items. If you need to borrow the 8-inch Orion Dob or the binoculars, they're here. and the Celestron 4 SE went out for the first time. I put everything as is due back in July because there were a handful of scopes that were due to come in between March and May. I figured with the COVID situation, it would be wiser if people don't want to bring them back and get out and about, just to extend everybody's loan periods here. I'm going to see if this will work. One of our, let's see, loan returners sent us a thank you card for the use of our scopes, and unfortunately, this got kind of either lost in my jacket pocket or something, but we found it. But it's John and Ryan Kramer sent us this, and I guess this is about the best way I can pass it around, like we do those other notes from when we do the 4-H folks in the fall. So I just wanted to share that with you. We had somebody that enjoyed a product from our loan system here.
Stafford?
Yep.
If you want to use your phone and take a picture of it and send it to me, we can probably put it, or Steve Condry, we can put it in the Stella.
Yeah, I could take some. I don't have as cooperative a phone as.
Oh. Okay.
Or he could read it to us.
Oh.
But somehow I can get you a picture. It's not a problem.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. Program share. Talking about tonight's program. Lee.
Okay. Oh, hang on. Okay. Yes, so I am the program chair, and I'm also giving the presentation tonight. It has been a little bit difficult to get people to sign up to do Zoom presentations, so if you're willing to, at me. But tonight's going to be about a tour of useful databases. We're going to go through ADSABs. We're going to go through exoplanet.eu, some of my favorite databases. It's really just for astronomy educators. It's one of those things. It's like, the toolbox, the astronomy educator's toolbox. This is the one that I feel like is it's super useful, but also very convoluted and complicated in some cases. So I thought we could go through some of the major databases and some of the ones that are not terribly user-friendly. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have.
Okay. Thanks, Lee. Now, do we have a tool time with us tonight? John Johnson, were you going to want to speak about something real quick?
If you want,
I can.
well, like I said,
I got your video clips.
I got them loaded up here too.
Oh, okay. Well, let me stop showing my screen to allow you to share your screen.
What I'll do first of all, I'll show my my rig I had set up here. This was, I hadn't been doing any imaging for other than just my camera on a tripod, as probably some of you saw, for quite some time. So the other night, Wednesday night, it was just such a nice night. So I set up my 10-inch Meade LX200, and let's see if I can bring it up here. Plus my junky garage. Okay, there. Does everybody see that now? Okay.
Yep.
Basically, this is my. I've had this scope for probably 20 years now. I got it used. It doesn't go much further than out to my front drive from my garage, where I keep it set up with a cover over it all the time because it's just too heavy. I think I've brought it up to NSB once or twice. But I hooked up my Canon digital camera there, and run the the output, the download pictures goes to the laptop, and of course I got my controller there to run the telescope, and another cable there to run the focuser. There's a close-up view of the connection. You almost have to, for something like this, you have to have some kind of electric focuser to have any hope of getting a decent focus, because of anytime you touch the telescope, it's going to jiggle, as we all know. And there's my laptop all set up. And for those for those captures, I used a program that it's just an old freeware program. It's been around for, I don't know, maybe there again, probably 15 years or so. It's called EOS Camera Movie Record. And I think it just works with Canon cameras, unfortunately. But on it, you can you fire up your camera and your laptop and everything, and you get a video. It's running as a video, which you can then download, to your laptop. Now this is one of the stills from that video. I'll show the videos here in a second, but and just by happenstance, I caught this really interesting feature over here that is something that you can only see fleetingly at a certain phase of the moon. I have a visitor. Yeah, come on over here. We're doing a live program here. This is my neighbor, Michelle, right? Yeah. And so I'm showing them some of the pictures I took of the moon here. Yeah. So anyway, that was an interesting, serendipitous catch there. But here's some of the videos. Now this is the video from that I took that still shot from. And this is an up close. You can zoom in on a 5 times resolution on it.
John, can I bump in real quick?
Yes.
I think you were sharing just the window photo viewer. We can't see the video. You may have to change the screen share again to a different window.
Resume share. Okay. Screen share. We'll try that again.
Okay. Yep.
There it is. Now, this is Venus. This was with the 5x magnification. That's what the same night, Wednesday night, was what Venus looks like. And there's the wide angle shot showing the lunar X that was made by the. It's just because of the sunlight catching it just right. Yeah. And there's a close-up one. And if we have time later and it clears off here, I might try some live shots if anybody wants to hang. Yeah. Yep.
Hey, John.
Yes.
You got the lunar V also.
Which one is the lunar V then?
It's the V shape right in the middle.
Oh,
right
there.
There. Yep.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, through that scope. Yep. Very good. Oh yeah, they're huge. I mean, that crater there is probably, 50 miles across from here in Lincoln. That's that same. Yeah. Go ahead.
John, can we count your neighbor as a guest?
Yes. Michelle will be our guest tonight. And Toby too. Yeah. Yeah, he's getting anxious to go. Yeah. You're welcome.
Bye, everyone. Enjoy. That was awesome.
Well, thanks for coming.
Very good. Yep. Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? That's enough.
It's interesting how much the atmosphere that night when you were imaging.
Wiggles. Yeah. And see, that's why you try to take a bunch of images on a video, and then you use it in these stacking programs. There's one called Registax and Auto Stackerd is the other one, and then it sorts out the best images, and then that's how you turn it into just a one still image. But I like to watch the videos. That's what I put up there on the Discord site. Yeah.
Hmm.
In fact, I suppose it'll. Okay. If I try to switch it again, I'll probably lose it again, right? Screen share is stopped. Okay. Anyway, well, that's what I got, and we might do some more if it works later. If anybody wants to hang around.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
There wasn't any other tool times I was missing, was there? I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. What's next is the program. Does anybody need to take a moment? In meeting speak, we call it a bio break.
That'd probably be wise.
So
Yes.
let's break for 7 minutes.
Yeah, please go.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Like a plan.
So talk amongst yourselves, socialize. So Lee is going to present. And she's going to do her presentation tonight on Astronomy Educators Toolkit, a tour of useful databases.
And the crowd goes wild. Okay. So the first one that I would like to bring up is going to be, I'm first going to have to share my screen with you. Sorry, hang on. Okay, there we go. All right, can everyone see this? Everybody can see this on their screen? We're all good?
I can see it.
Okay. All right. So this is called ADSABS or NASA ADS, but it's adsabs.harvard.edu. And it used to kind of be, I mean, it's fine now, but it used to kind of be less user-friendly. What's really cool about it is that you can do a lot of digging for more historical stuff. So for example, let's just type in planet. You can see that, let's see here for me, can I just get rid of you all? Haha, yes, all right. You guys can still see this, right? We have 261,000 results, so that's a lot. What you can do, however, is go down here and see that pretty much it will tell you what the first result year-wise it has. So let's say 1523 to, I don't know, we'll say 1550, and we'll just apply. And what that'll bring up is these old books. You can see that none of them are in English, but that's totally fine. This one down at the bottom does not have, you can see it does not actually take you anywhere. So if you click on this one, pretty much in ADSABS, or just ads, if there is a place to go, if it will tell you where a link is, it'll show you on the side. So if there's an article, it will show you right here. So let's click on, if you want to do something historical, what you can do is you type in, any astronomical name, comet, sun, planet, moon, just see what comes up and then narrow your search to the way past. So let's click on some, let's see, this one, it looks like is by Peter Apian, so he's pretty famous. If we go to our full text source, and if you guys can't see anything, let me know. You can see right here, if we go down, that we can actually get this book, right? We can actually get this book right here. So let's see if we can download this without destroying my computer. 2 minutes. Okay, never mind. No, not for you. Well, maybe. It's fine. Let's see. Is there any way to just pull it up? Holy crap, no. Stop that. Okay. So if we click on this guy, though, maybe we can actually just bring it up. I just want the page. So you can actually see the text. Obviously, the problem with these old books, really, really old sources of stuff, is that they're not typed. So you can't do search, you can't find anything, and they're usually not in English. But if you look at the book, right, if you look over here at what is going on, you can see, even though it's in German, even though the type is really old, you know, you can actually see that somebody here has a nocturnal, somebody over here is holding, you know, a quadrant. This guy's using his hand clearly to measure distances. This guy's using, you know, the ladder. So basically, if I had to guess, I would say this book is probably about astronomical instruments, and it's super old, which is really cool. I mean, sometimes it's just really nice to find these really old sources and see, you know, what's the first thing about some object that you can find out there. And then, you know, you can go on from there. What's the first thing you can find in English? What's the first thing that you can find, you know, that actually takes you to a place? So that's something that I like to use AdZabs for a lot. So for example, one of the things that I remember doing for a project I was working on was just typing in sun. And again, you can see this insane amount of results, right? But you can narrow that from, let's say, 1890 to 1900. So people were absolutely talking about the sun, researching the sun. There's quite a few that actually have the PDFs that you can navigate to. What's really interesting is, you know, when you sort, when you sort by date, when you sort by, I mean, they basically, I would say the big thing for me is just that narrowing, the ability to narrow and say, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I'm looking for from this very specific era on this topic. And then you can see what people were saying about the sun in the late 1800s, right? That's kind of the really cool thing. Then the other really cool thing that I like about ads is that if you go to the Explore button all the way over to the right and go down to the paper network, and sometimes it works and sometimes it takes forever and it doesn't really work, but my computer is just really slow, but I do really like this feature here. Okay, hang on. Let's go back. I'm gonna kill it. I know I'm gonna kill it. See, now it's angry at me. Let's go with Paper Network. And let's go back. Let's try it. And let's narrow our search results from there to, I don't know, let's say 1800. Now let's see if it'll let us. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes there's just, you know, too many. Crap, it's not going to do it. You can see it's given me an error, and here's why. When you apply it, and it might just be that I haven't given it enough to do, or it might be that I'm doing too much. But when I say, you know, Paper Network, it says the network grouping algorithm cannot generate group data for your network. So I cannot show you this. I've done it before. I should have written it down exactly how I wanted it. Let's see. Yeah, so but what happens is it actually shows you the papers, the way that the papers will actually, so let's say that, you know, Einstein decided to quote somebody, and then they'll show up in the paper network too. So if you go and use the paper network or the author network, they'll tell you how everything is related, which is super cool. That's something that I really, really love. Now, if you were to do something, one of the things that I really like to do too is find sort of, I like to find weird things from history with this, because it is just has so much from history. It obviously has newer stuff too, but what I really like to do sometimes is just type in something that is very random. So sun is fine, but suns is kind of weird. That's a weird one to have. You can see there's a lot of results. Let's actually go from, yeah, we can go from 1615 to 1800. We'll apply that. And then if we actually go, because it'll include sun, but if you actually go to find suns and go down, you'll see right here, right, you have this weird sort of mock sun seen the 19th of the same month. I'm like, what is that about? And the problem is we can't click on it because there is no article. All the information we have is right here. But what the heck is a mock sun? So if we go down, again, we see mock sun. And again, and again. So just putting in multiples of suns, you know, you end up with this weird term that looks like it's from primarily the 1700s, right? Which piques my interest. Like, obviously, I would love to just click on this link, but it will take me nowhere because there's no sources, right? It's obviously from the Philosophical Transactions. So you can actually look this up if you have access to JSTOR. JSTOR you have to pay for, you have to be a student. But Philosophical Transactions is included in that. So you can actually look up what the heck, you know, E. Haley. Wonder who that could be. Yeah, I just wonder. But mock suns, I have no idea what that is, but I love that that term exists. So like sometimes I will just sit and just type in random things and look at different times, the 1800s, 1700s, to see what people were saying about stuff, because it's usually pretty interesting and very random. One of the things that I also, that you can do with this, I don't use it this much for this as often, but if you type in something like, let's say you type in Sirius. Sirius is huge, it's gonna return a ton, right? Just a ton of results. Oh, that's actually not too many, 1,300 results. So we could, again, narrow this down and go, what were people saying in the 1700s about Sirius? But we can also come over here and look at our SIMBAD objects. So at this point, we can, SIMBAD is the stellar database, right? So what we can do is we can say, oh, we're saying stars, and then we're going to limit it to, let's just get rid of these. We're going to say Alpha Canis Majoris, limit to, not exclude. And then it narrows that down. So, I mean, obviously Sirius is usually talking about Alpha Canis Majoris, but, you know, you can see that it's narrowed it down to only actually include anything that has to do with the actual star that we would call Sirius, not Sirius B, but Sirius A. So that's how you can narrow things down as well, using other different catalogs. So yeah, so that is pretty much, I mean, I feel like ads is very straightforward, but what's nice about it is it is pretty user-friendly now, where it used to not be very user-friendly. It really does, the sortability is really great. It lets you see before you click, something SIMBAD does not do. It lets you see whether or not you're actually going to be able to go to the article. Can I access this article? I would like to see that from the first page. If I'm honest, I do not appreciate those large data sets where it's just like, and now you click on it, oh, can't get it. Hate that. So ads doesn't do that. That's something I love about ads. I love the sortability. I love the explore mode. Let's try this and see if there's any paper networks. Probably not. Network algorithm. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Okay. So you see how basically you have your different types of what's showing up, right? White dwarf star and a companion system, abundance line and Vega stars. If you go to paper citations, let's see, number of papers. Yeah, the way we get to this paper-wise is not paper, but author network. My bad. Why did I leave that up? There we go. Look at this. See, this is what I was looking for, right? So you can see that there's sort of these groups. So if you click on the groups, this is what you get. These are people who are citing each other, or they appear commonly in each other's papers. They're related somehow through the paper, right? So, you know, what's interesting about ads, and wow, this is a lot. Once you get into the gray, it's like there's no relation at all. But what's really cool about ads is that they actually take the data and they sort of halfway try to sort it for you. It's not just blah, here's your database, but you have a lot of sortability features. And so that's something that I really appreciate about ads. And that is the ads database. And I really like it. Now, the next one that I'd like to bring up is our Minor Planet Center. I think that there's going to be, and again, if anyone can't see my screen shares, let me know. The Minor Planet Center, the only complaint I have is it's .net for some reason. That's just weird. I think that's weird. Should be .org or I don't know. Anyway, so the Minor Planner Center is a little less intuitive. You can see immediately it's not like ads. It's not as pretty. It's not as easy to navigate. I mean, ads I almost hesitated to pull up. Because it's so user-friendly, I feel like I don't have to explain anything, right? The Minor Planet Center is a little closer to most professional astronomical databases. So this is one that you kind of look at and you go, okay, there was a lot of development, but not a lot of design. Obviously, they have this main page, but it's not that helpful. One of the biggest useful places to go really is over here under observers. So you can see that they have a publications archive, right? We can click on the publications archive and go through what they've actually published. So these are all of their publishings, which is, again, I mean, if you're looking for minor planets, I think everyone knows what a minor planet is. Basically asteroids, a lot of comets are on here. You know, dwarf planets, anything that's smaller than a planet and in the solar system is going to be on here, which is pretty cool. The other one that I really, really like, and you can actually submit, I mean, it's hard, right? Like, let's say you find an asteroid, you know, it takes a lot to submit an asteroid to the Minor Planet Center, but it can be done. So as far as submission info goes, if you believe that you have discovered an asteroid, you can submit that to the MPC. What I like is our orbit observation database. So here's sort of our orbits by type, right? So if let's say we click on distant objects, so that's going to be things like dwarf planets, or could be dwarf planets, or centaurs. They're going to be way out. Most of them are out past, I mean, this is past Neptune, right? So then we have this very non-intuitive grouping of letters at the top, but you can sort. There's a sortability. So for example, here's the E most likely stands for eccentricity. Let's go back. Let's get a really eccentric orbit. Yeah. All right, not one. We don't need one. That's crazy. Yeah, let's get this guy. Okay. Oh, this one's been named. Look at that, Damocles. Let's click on Damocles. Okay, so you have all your information here, right? Your semi-major axis. You have, you know, your perihelion date, basically when is it going to be closest to us. That's happening in 2031. But if we go to interactive orbit sketch, this is the thing that I feel is very interesting. I have spent hours just, you know, sitting around looking at these. It's because we get this actual orbit. Look at this crazy thing. So here's our plane, right? We can actually put it dead on. If we put our solar system dead on, look at that orbit. Look at this. That's crazy. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, that's great. And then if we were to go, you know, dead on here, let's zoom out a little bit. That's where you can see that eccentricity, right? So you can see that it's really elongated. It's not like a round, nice circular orbit. It's got this huge, huge long orbit. So that's, and it goes way out there, right? It doesn't go, so we've got this right here is Mars, this is Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So it doesn't actually go past Neptune, but it does go past Uranus. So that's why it would be considered, you know, an outer, a far away outer solar system body, which is really interesting, right? Because you can also see that it comes into the inner solar system, comes in past the orbit of Mars. So it's really, really cool to just sit and I spend hours, I waste hours on this website, just looking at all the different orbits of things. One of my favorites though, let's see if I can actually find it. Probably, let's go with years as far as period. So the P means period, it stands for years. So basically this thing over here that has basically no name has a 273-year orbit, right? So if we sort by years, we'd go ahead and click on that, which I have. My computer is slow, guys. It's from 2009. We can see something like, for example, hey, stop it. Oh my goodness, it caught up with me. Okay, so let's go down here to this guy. I love these things. They're so far out there. Look at that. Look at how far, you have to zoom so far in, right? So here is Neptune, right? And this thing comes in and then swings way out there. And that's why it has this crazy long, that's why it takes like 21,000 years to have, to actually see the orbit. So it's just crazy. Look, there's our dead on. So you can see that it's not really on the ecliptic plane at all. Yeah, comes down and around. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I love it. Yeah, so this thing is great. I love the Minor Planet Center for this reason. You know, so let's say you wanted to look up, you know, near inner solar system stuff. All of these, the Atens, the Apollos, and the Amors, those are all near Earth objects, and a lot of them are pretty much the asteroids that people think of when they think of, you know, an asteroid hitting the Earth. I mean, mostly lay people, but if you want to look up any kind of orbits for the, you know, the doom asteroids, right? The Atens, the Apollos, the Amors, those are the ones to really focus on. And then you do have your Mars crossers, which are sort of dangerous, but not like the near Earth objects. But I think the outer solar system is the most interesting one, because again, when you go to the outer solar system and you sort by things like, you know, period and years, you can find these things that just have these huge wide orbits, and it just kind of feels like, you know, you're actually getting to see these things. That's the other thing too, right? We're living in this time where all of these really far off things are being discovered quite rapidly, where they really weren't discovered. So everything past Pluto, right? Nothing was found besides Pluto and Charon. Nothing was found until 1992 QB1. 1992 QB1 was sort of the beginning of the outer solar system besides Pluto. So, you know, you have these things, you can see all of these. If you sort by magnitude, it pretty much will show you the biggest stuff out there. the bigger things. My favorite one is Sedna. Sedna has that weird, crazy orbit. Again, it's like an 11,000 year orbit, but it goes all the way around. Look, you can see it just goes all the way around our solar system, and it's just, it goes way the heck out there. So, and again, if you look at it dead on or on the ecliptic, it's totally wonky. I love this. I absolutely love it. So anyway, that's the one that I would play with. This is the Minor Planet Center one is pretty much one of those that if you can actually see the interactive orbit, is one of those ones that I totally get sucked into. So yeah, because I love looking up potential dwarf planets, because in like 10 years, Sedna is going to be a dwarf planet, right? Like it's just going to take a while to make it a dwarf planet. So yeah. Okay, so the next one is the big one. It's the worst database that has ever been made. Unless you're Louis, apparently he likes it. And it is called Simbad. And it is terrible. Like I hate this database. I cannot tell you how much I hate this database, you guys. And the reason why is because it is the exact opposite of user-friendly, right? You can see they didn't even try it all. They were like, you figure it out, you go ahead. So that's fun. What is interesting about this front page before we get into the nitty-gritty here with the database, I will say that Simbad is a collection of really points of light in the night sky. And so, but primarily the big thing that is important about Simbad is that it has all the stars. So there's all these catalogs, right? There's the Tycho and the Hipparcos catalog. Of course, you've got your Henry Draper catalog. You've got your Gliese catalog. You've got a lot of catalogs of stars out there, and there's hundreds of them, and they come from different countries, and they overlap each other, and they have different designations for different stars. And so, and I can't remember the exact number, but it's like, once you get up past, if you get up to magnitude, is it 6, the human eyeball? Everything past then, it just kind of becomes exponentially more stars, right? So you go from 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000, 50,000 stars really, really quickly. So you can have a catalog of millions of objects, but like we can't see that, right? We can't see that with a human eyeball. So there is a part of me that's like, I get that there are millions, legitimately millions of data points in the Simbad database. I get it, I understand. Where I get frustrated is, fine, take like the 5,000 brightest stars and just make that catalog. But they haven't. But if you go from this front page, you'll see we have a list of journals. One of the things that I like is the list of journals and the object types. And the list of journals, just because, again, if you want to find, where would you actually go for a professional journal, it's nice to just go through all this stuff. It's very boring, but it's there, it's available, right? A lot of it is in other languages. So that's one thing that I do think is sort of important to recognize, that they have put together a lot of information. It's very information heavy. It's not very pretty. And that's what Simbad is. So in a lot of ways, I respect it. That doesn't mean that I like it. And then the other thing I think that's interesting to note is the object classification in Simbad. If you come down here, I'm not really going to do like the radio source, anything like that, but if you come down here to stars, what's interesting here is that you can actually see pretty much all of the different types of stars. So you know how sometimes people will say, oh, there's 7 different types of stars. Oh no, there's actually, this many different types of stars. There are way more than that. Anyone who says there is only this many types of stars has just never been to the Simbad database, because you can see all of these different categories of stars. They go on for quite a long time. It's a lot. And no one would ever go over all of them because nobody cares. So really that's why we only cover 7 types of stars, right? But there are a lot out there, and you can search for them. You can search for these very specific types in the SIMBAD. So, I mean, let's say you wanted to look for a carbon star. You could actually do that through criteria. So queries, look at this, guys, look at this. This is just the worst looking web page. Man, I hope nobody on is like a developer for SIMBAD. I can't imagine that that would be the case, but if they are, like, I'm very sorry. And why are you watching from France? Probably, you know, bored. Okay, so let's say we come in here and I wanted to know, it's, again, it just takes a very logical way of thinking here. If we go over here, you can see there's the display, references, and object. You do not want to click references initially because your computer will die. So you want to click object count. So let's do something like they will come down, for example, this is SP type, that's spectral type, and it will tell you, look, if you're trying to find different kinds of stars, which spectral type do you want? So I can put in SP type equals, let's say we want to do O type stars. We submit the query and it takes forever. And you can see the number of objects is only 439. So that's actually not that many objects, right? Let's say K, SP type is K. Let's see how fast it returns. Never. 4,600 types, right? So you know that if you actually display your objects, let's go back to, oh, let's try O9 stars, something like, I think Almatok is an O9 type star. So 113 of those. Okay, 113 is not going to kill my computer. So what we'll do is we'll actually display those objects. We'll go down to 1,000. Okay. So if we display our objects, our O9 stars, as you can see, there's not that many of them. This is another thing that's really cool about databases when you sit and play around with them. When you play around with the database, you can see like, oh, there's actually a lot more N-type stars than there are O-type stars. When we take all of these catalogs and we compile it and we say, here are the different spectral types, and then we search for it, it turns out, well, there's way less O-type stars than there are, you know, N-type stars, K-type stars, you know. So that's that's another thing too, I think that's useful in understanding, you know, not just for the astronomy educator, but even in like a classroom, how we really would find out, how we would really know, you know, how much of this object versus this object is there that we know of. It's through databases like these. So you can see there's a ton of different stars here. All of them have these really long names, right? The Iris, BD. So basically, these are not stars that have, you know, you would be looking actually HD, the Henry Draper catalog. That may have been discovered, you know, a while ago, although it does have a long number, or NGC, right? NGC, New General Catalog. That's not a new catalog. So we get this nice picture. It's not like the greatest picture of all time. But what's really cool is it not only tells you what it is, but it gives you a clickable link. So when you're looking for actual information on this star, which I know does not sound that cool, like it doesn't, as far as databases go, it's like, you know, finding really cool historical things seems more interesting, especially from a visual perspective, than just a star and a data point. But what's really, I think, important with stars is that stars are so, you know, besides James B. Kaler, not a whole lot of astrophysicists write about stars. And so you kind of have to do this on your own. I have found in my own research, in my own time as an astronomy educator, that I kind of have to use SIMBAD. I don't like using SIMBAD, but I have to use SIMBAD because there's not a ton of resources that have taken that data and made it really useful, you know. So that is really our SIMBAD data. And let's go back. This is something I think is really interesting. If you type in spectral type and put in O1, just wait for oh man, it's just going to take forever. There are no objects found. So there's no O1 stars that we have put into SimBev. We, meaning like the human species, not me. I'm not a part of this. But yeah, so O1 is one of the, like, that's the thing too, is we have this idea of, oh, you have the O-type star is the brightest, hottest, you know, bluest star out there. And then the O9s are sort of on the cold end and the O1s are on the hot end. There are no O1 stars that we know of. So then we can go to O2. Let's see if there's any O2 stars, which I find absolutely fascinating. Like, we don't know of any O1 type stars. So when you see that HR diagram, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen, where you get this really, 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 really hot blue star, it theoretically exists, but it doesn't actually exist that we know of. But once we get to O3, I know there are O3 stars. Don't make me a liar, Sinbad. There are two O3 stars. So when we're talking about the biggest, brightest, bluest, hottest stars, you know, you have to think of how much rarer and rarer and rarer those spectral types get, which again, a database like this can actually tell you if you sit and sort of play around with it. Now, if you want to go to, let's see, if I go, let's see here. You want to go somewhere that kind of does stars a little better. I really like the HIG database, the HYG database. The HYG database is, and I have to have a caveat here, it's an amateur database. So this was not done by an astrophysicist. This was not done by, you know, the Smithsonian or some university like the previous catalogs, the previous databases. This was put together by an insane amateur astronomer, right? Like most of us. What's really cool though is he went through quite a few of these catalogs. So I actually, let's see. I actually have this downloaded. So you can actually download that file, right, when you come up here. And I would do it right now, but when I did it, it just, gosh, it takes forever because it's actually kind of a big database. But what's really cool is that you can see he's taken all of these stars and he's actually given you, you know, what catalog is it in? The Hipparcos catalog, the HD catalog, the Gliese catalog, you know, and he gives you the right ascension, the declination, the distance, which is really cool. You know, if you want to sort stars, for example, by distance, let's say smallest to largest, expand the section, you know, you can actually see, right? We've got Proxima Centauri, you know, Bernard star, Sirius, all of these stars that we've heard of and we know, it'll actually tell you the distance. This is in parsecs. This is not in light years. And then he's, you know, given you the magnitude as well. So if you want to go with, again, you know, the brightest star to the dimmest star, you know, you can sort by magnitude, come over here, there's all your bright stars. And it actually goes to, you know, it doesn't have a million data points. I think we're sitting at, yeah.
We're still seeing your browser. We didn't see the downloaded version if you were showing it.
Oh, hang on. Let's see. Let's do new share. Haha. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay. Okay, now you can see it?
Yep, I see the spreadsheet.
Perfect. Yes. So if you say, right, you've got your magnitude here, you've got your proper names here. So you can actually sort by, you know, you can actually sort through all these stars. What's really cool, so it looks like he's got about, yeah, 118,000 entries. And I just feel like that's enough. Me personally, I feel like 118,000 stars is enough, especially when you're adding into the spreadsheet, you're adding into all of this other database. You know, again, I will say, it is an amateur made thing. There's going to be some mistakes and errors and bugs. He's updated it a few times. And then B, it hasn't been updated in a while. So it's actually been like, I think 2014 was the last update. But, you know, one of the things I really like to do, and hopefully this will actually work. Let's see if I can. Okay, hang on. I got this. I can share this, maybe. Screen share, bam. So one of the things I like to do is just go by the constellations and then edit everything else out. That's something that I've done here, right? Basically, I've taken all of the Scorpius stars in Scorpius. That's it, and then I can actually sort them. There's a lot from his database. There's a lot, you know. Where's my constellations? Maybe. Oh, right here. Yeah. So our Scorpius constellation right here, you can see all of these stars. So then you can decide where you want that cutoff to be, right? If you want to actually have a database of stars in, let's go back, maybe. It's not that I can't use this. It's that my computer is being bad, I promise. Maybe. Screen sharing is paused. Cool. So you can see.
We've all been there with computers.
Yeah. So basically what I would say about the Higg data that's really nice is that it kind of does that sorting for you with stars. And that's my big thing is with stars, I feel like with some things, you know, there's all of this, like the Minor Planet Center is so good with minor planets, right? I mean, they plot out those orbits for you. And then when you go to something like, you know, ads, you actually get reference to the original source. It's great. But when you're looking for stars, it just is the most frustrating thing of all time. When you're sitting there going, huh, how many red dwarfs are in the constellation Scorpius? Well, that can take you 4 weeks to figure out on Sinbad, you know, but with the Higg data, you just download it and look it up because it's got spectral type in there. You can sort by spectral type and you can edit out everything that's not Scorpius. So because it uses so much more data in you know, a large Excel spreadsheet, it just works better for me. That's something that I really like, but I would check it, right? If you see something and you go, oh, that looks really cool, or that looks, like, let's say you found an O1 star, right? And you thought, oh, this appears in this catalog, you would want to check that against Sinbad because Sinbad's the professional version. Higg is a very useful helper version for understanding stars. All right. Next on our list, it's a brief stop before we get into the most fun database, really. Our brief stop is going to be at Recons. Has anybody ever heard of Recons? Anyone in the chat?
I haven't, no. Are you going to share a web browser then?
I am.
Okay.
Hang on. Oh, okay, hang on. I did want to share one more thing with you. This is something that I did with the Higg data. I just have to share my screen again. Actually, let's see here.
If you want, I think you can share the whole screen rather than specific applications.
I don't know that I can. I'm sure I can, I just haven't figured out how. Share screen. Share advanced portion of screen. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. I'm sorry, guys. So this is something that I put together right before I went to Comic-Con a few years ago. This is basically a list of all of the stars that are real in the night sky that are also mentioned in the Star Trek franchise, and the ones in green are the ones that actually have a planet going around them, because I just wanted to know all of the stars that are mentioned that are real in Star Trek, all of the planets that are mentioned in those star systems, are there any planets in those star systems? And it took me like 9 hours to make this database. But basically, I just compared the Higg database to, you know, every Star Trek episode that had ever mentioned a planet. There's not that many. You can see there's not that many real stars that have been mentioned, but then the ones in green, it's like those are the only ones that actually have planets. So all the planets that are mentioned in Star Trek, of all of them, there's only like 14 that star systems that actually have planets, which is totally understandable, but I just needed to know. So I just sat there and went through this database and put it together. So that was something that was super fun. Okay, so then brief stop on recons. Hang on, I got this. Okay, there it is. So recons is, again, it's hard, right? You got to look it up because it's hard to know, is this a professional database or is this someone's basement blog? Because it doesn't look great, right? This is not the best looking website from 1998 that I've ever seen, but it is a legit professional research team. And what's really cool about recons is they basically only look at very close stars. So the stars that are closest to us, when you hear people say things like, well, most of the Milky Way has to be red dwarfs, it comes from recons. Because what recons does is they say, okay, in our pool next to us, you know, what can we see that is right next door to us? And the reality is that if we take a block of 100, you know, light years across, it's almost all red dwarfs. And it would be weird to think that we're in like a special area of the galaxy that just gets a ton of red dwarfs. The reality is that probably red dwarfs are just more common than any other type of star. So recons is the group that does that, and they actually have a list. They do have all of their stuff in the Astronomical Journal, but basically the recons discovery within 10 parsecs, so that's about 30 light years. Maybe. Oh my gosh. No. It's my list. That's what I want, is the list. It actually goes through a list of what they found and where they're at. Again, this is a very, very bad, it looks really bad, right? It looks like someone just threw this together and then put it on the internet. And I mean, to be fair, they kind of did. But what it'll do, if you go through their list of actual red dwarfs with the stars that are next to us, is you can see all of these things that are really close to us that we cannot see with our eyeball, right? This is the list of the closest stars. We just can't see them, basically. That they're all, you know, as bright as Proxima Centauri, and it's very sad. Which I kind of feel like it's hard. This is one that I wanted to just kind of gloss over because I feel like this is a good example of a database that has a lot of useful information in it and interesting information, but that information hasn't been put into anything. So it has no visual value at all. You have to go through those data points and it's just terrible, but it is useful. So I would say recons is one of those things I would play around with just because it is really useful and it is, you know, scientifically accurate. It's just very ugly. And so I think that that's another thing that, you know, as astronomy educators, it is our job to go through the ugliness of these databases and turn that information into something useful, into something that people can go, oh, okay, I get it now. What, you know, why do scientists think that, you know, most of the stars in the galaxy are red dwarfs? Well, this is why. So I think that there's something to be said for, that's kind of part of our jobs too, is to just take those resources, which are often very ugly, and kind of turn them into something. So, and this is, unfortunately, this is not about visualizing data. This is just about the databases that are out there that you can use. So the last one that I want to talk about is exoplanet.eu. Exoplanet.eu is my favorite database of all time. Can you guys see it or do I have to share it?
It's there.
It's there? Perfect. All right, so first of all, greatest database ever. One of the things I really like is they do have a list of planets in binaries, which is kind of cool. So you can see all of the planets. If you want to know about planets that are going around stars in multiple star systems, this is kind of a nice little starting list. It's not like the most important thing ever. I just like that they pick it out for you, because you'll see later it's kind of hard to pick out the binaries. One of the other things that I really like is the view of planets around us. So the view of planets around us is interesting because you can see, irradiation compared to Earth. We have in blue a lot less radiation, and in red a lot more. But if you hover over, that's why I love this website, if you hover over the blue dot, it will tell you what it is. So it's not just telling you how many more planets are out there that are receiving more radiation than Earth. It's actually going to tell you which ones they are. So Fomalhaut is getting less radiation than Earth. Let's click on it. And voila, there we go, Fomalhaut. So Fomalhaut B is really cool. You can see Fomalhaut in the night sky. It does have a planet. It's a big planet. And what's really awesome about this database is that it will tell you where it got its stuff. Again, we have mass. It says Fomalhaut B is about 3 times the mass of Jupiter. Okay, we come over here and we have this little clickable, where did you get that information, right? Don't just tell me, don't just Wikipedia me, tell me where you got it. And then you click on it and it takes you to the actual article and you can download the PDF. So this is actually useful. This is a database that for me personally, I feel like has meshed, really perfectly meshed the usefulness of databases and navigability with the information. And to be fair to Sinbad, they don't have 10 million data points, they have 4,500, so they can take the time to do this. But if you come over here to the star, you can see the same thing. Where did you get the distance? Oh, that's the paper. You can click on it, you can go right to the paper. How do you know how old it is? That's the paper. You can click on it, you can go right to the paper. But then if you come down here, you can see all of the related publications. And you can also see if you can click on them and go to those publications. Yes, you can. So I just love exoplanet.eu. Wow, there's a lot on Fomalhaut, you guys. But we can also do, let's do age of host star. That's an interesting one, right? So we do age of host star. Most of them are estimated, so the blue ones are going to be, closer to, under 5 gabillion years. It's billion years, but because it's a G, I always think gabillion. Yeah, so you also have the red is really old. So you get these really freaking old star systems. So let's go over to the red because that's really interesting. So we've got WASP 183b, super old looks like, and then there's one hiding in here, WASP 29b. So let's click on this guy and see where it takes us. Yeah, so it looks like the age of the star is super, super, super old. Possibly, as old basically as the universe. Obviously, this plus or minus, that's your, it could be younger, it could be older. And there's not a whole lot on WASP 183b, but it is kind of cool that you can just easily sort by basically if you want age, if you want irradiation, if you want, year of discovery, effective temperature of a host star, mass of a host star. It's pretty cool. So, or orbital period, I think is a really interesting one because you can see here too, very easily, in fact, that the orbital period for most exoplanets that we know of is a lot less than Earth, right? It's a lot less. Well, it's a lot less than a day because if you look down here, you can see 10-1, that's 1 day. So you have a lot of these that are going around their stars, their year is a day, a week, and the reason that is because when you're using different methods, primarily Kepler, the transit method, you're looking for that dimming, that periodic dimming. Well, if we wait 83 years to see a dimming and then another 83 years to see a dimming for it to go in front, and we're never going to find that planet. I mean, we'll be dead, but someone else will discover it. So that's why most of the exoplanets that we know of, they have these really short periods. And you can see that here in the data is really, really backed up. But what's really, I think, really sort of interesting about that is just stopping and thinking, why? Why are there some, because I've heard people say this. I've heard astronomy educators say, you know, most exoplanets out there have years that are way shorter than Earth. Like that's just the setup of the galaxy, that most other planets for some reason have a really short period, which is insane. It's like, no, most of the ones that we found have had really short periods because they're just easier to find because they take less time to find. Like, yeah, I just think it's kind of funny. So, but I've totally heard that said at star parties before, and I said nothing. Okay, so all catalogs is kind of where your big stuff is. Now, this catalog is huge. It doesn't just go from planet to discovery and update, but you can go by status. So you can say, I only want to see confirmed exoplanets. And this is really useful because if you're talking about exoplanets, you kind of want to know, is this a thing that, you know, disappeared at some point? So for example, let's go with GJ. They usually go GJ, not Gliese. 581, I think we all know where this is going. Okay, so Gliese 581 only has 3 planets, except what about candidates? Come on. What about other? So if it doesn't take off candidates, but it has other, that's a dead giveaway that it was rescinded. So basically, 3 of those planets are no longer thought to be there. Exoplanet.eu, you know, after so many papers have been submitted to it on this system, Gliese 581, it's decided, okay, a lot of these are saying that half these planets are spurious data, basically. So they've removed them from confirmed and they've put them under other instead. And if you go and click on 581E and come down, you'll see planetary system. It says 3 planets. And it will take you back to the home page, but basically it will tell you how many stars are in that system. So if we go back, let's see here. If we go back, you know, we can sort by a lot of different things. One of the things I think is really cool is just going through and sorting by, you know, we can change this from mass of Jupiter to mass of Earth. And we can then sort by the mass, right? So we can look for things that are pretty small. These guys are really small. But this is pretty much where you're starting to get your small planets, your Mars-sized planets start right in here. And it's really, I mean, because a lot of times when they're super duper small like this, it's iffy on the mass. But like TRAPPIST-1d, that's an interesting system. Again, you can see where all of our information comes from, but you can see that mass-wise, it is, I mean, it does it in Jupiter's, which is too bad, but you can see that it is smaller than Earth, which is actually pretty rare. Because if we go back and go by mass again, how long does it take us, you know, to get to 1? Not very long, right? That's only what, like 10 planets that are smaller than the Earth. So there's not a whole lot of planets that have been discovered that are smaller than Earth. There's a couple, but not a ton. You can kind of go through the same thing with discovery. You can go through the same thing with eccentricity. I really like the eccentricity, going through the eccentricity and finding the really wobbly planets, just like that wobbly, finding the really elongated orbits, just like with the Minor Planet Center. But one of the really cool things that I like is because they named them, they standardize the naming. You can do things like, for example, with the exoplanet names, the way it works, there's never an A. A doesn't exist. The first planet discovered in a system is always B, and the second one is C, and the third one is D, and so on and so forth. So if we wanted to find how many solar systems are out there with 3 planets, right? At least 3 planets, all we would really have to do is type in, we would hit space, and then B, C, D, right? D. And then quite a few actually come up. We've got 1, 2, 3 pages. Okay, And again, some of that is going to be because what could have happened, if you look at the status again, what could have happened is B could have been discovered, and then they go, no, it's spurious data, and they take it off. So not all of these probably have 3 planets, but most of them do, because spurious data can still happen. D, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, we've got quite a few that have 4. F. Okay, it's getting shorter. G. Look at that. So there's this many, this is the solar systems, right? These are the solar systems that have, I think we're up to 5, right? B, C, D, E, F, G, oh, 6. So this is it, that's all we have. And we're not even up to the solar system. So our solar system has 8 planets or 9, depending on how old you are. But if our solar system has 8 planets, well, you know, how many solar systems out there have 8 planets? There's a few that have 8, and then there's only 1, because this is giving me the name instead of an I. So if we go to Kepler 90I and scroll down, yeah, we have 8 planets. That's 8 planets in the system. So we just found an 8-planet system just by typing in space I, because that's how the naming works. And so if you notice that kind of naming convention in things, for example, all circumbinaries are AB. Actually, I gotta get rid of this first. You know what, we'll just go back. That's just how they're named. So now we can see that this planet here, the AB means those are the 2 big stars going around each other. So there's Kepler 1661A and 1661B, they go around each other, and then B, the planet, I just pointed like you can see me, B, the little B, that's the first planet discovered, that goes around those 2. So it's really cool just with the naming that you can see, you know, how many, for example, you can see pretty much how many circumbinary planets there are. There's only 37 that we know of out of thousands of exoplanets. How many go around a binary star system, not one that then goes around the other, but you know, 2 of those stars that go around each other, they go all the way around that. So that's a circumbinary orbit. How many of those exist? Not many, but it would have 2 suns. You know, that's these are your Tatooines right here in this list. So yeah. Okay, so that is my absolute favorite database because I think that it was created correctly. But that's pretty much my spiel. Does anybody have any questions? I'm gonna try and get out of here and come back.
If you have questions, you may have to unmute to ask your question.
Yeah. Comments, concerns? Is that the most boring presentation of all time?
Oh gosh, no, it was fabulous. There's so much stuff there. I don't know that I'll ever be able to use those, but it was really fun to listen to you talk about them. And oh yeah, I really like the list of Star Trek stars.
Oh, thank you. So when I went to Comic-Con, I was manning, I got in for free because I was manning the Star Trek D booth, like you do. And so this guy comes up and we start chatting because he's waiting in line to get his picture taken. I'm waiting in line to let him go in. And, you know, we start chatting. He's like, so what do you do for your job? I was like, oh, I work in an observatory. And he's like, okay, all right, interesting. And then he was like, just theoretically, how many planets that are mentioned in Star Trek are real? And at the time it was like 8. And I was just like 8. And he was like, how do you know that? And I was like, well, theoretically, you'd have to get a list of actual exoplanets and compare it to the list of listed stars and planets in Star Trek. And he was like, and how long would that take? I was like, theoretically, 9 hours. Because it just took forever. So anyway.
Nobody's jumping in with a question, so I have a comment. How many people remember David Nash from NSP?
Sure.
I'm sure there's a couple people out there that do. John, did you raise your hand?
I do. Oh yeah. He only came to maybe what, the first 2 or 3?
I think maybe 4.
Maybe 4. Yeah.
Did you notice who the author is of the HYG database?
Ah,
Oh, is that
Da-
him?
Mr.
David
Nash.
Nash.
Yeah.
David Nash.
Interesting.
Yeah, I tried to find him a little while ago. I tried to look him up to ask him because it hasn't been updated in a while, and I was like, "Huh, I'd really like to like get in touch with this guy, but I can't. He's a ghost on the internet."
I'm going to guess it's because of kids.
Oh, yeah. If he ever comes back to a Nebraska Star Party, you should accost him for sure because I love that database.
If he comes back, he'll probably go right by Lake McConaughey.
He should stop there. Y'all should stop here and do some astronomy. I mean, there's a lake effect, but honestly, most of the time it's very dark. It's not always great seeing, but it's very dark. So, yeah. I don't know if Sinbad made any sense at all. That database, Louis, I can't believe that you like it. I just hate it so much.
Well, about all I've ever used it for is to look up galaxies and stuff.
Oh,
and, like I
okay.
said, find the pictures of my. Yeah, I haven't really gone after any stars per se, but yeah, I'll look up a certain NGC or something, or some weird galaxy that if he's got a what is it PGC number or PCG number, whatever.
Yeah, it's a big database, and I appreciate that they don't overlap and overlap and overlap. I just, it's so big, it's clunky, and I understand why it has to be really visually toned down. I just, wandering around that website just always makes me angry. I associate rage with Sinbad pretty hardcore. So.
Thank you.
Well, I
Leah. It was very
appreciate-
informative. It was nice.
Thank you. Thanks. And
I appreciate
Yes, very
that,
good.
Lee.
Yeah, well, you're doing the exoplanet, so our next speaker in June is going to be Rodney. So on exoplanets.
Yeah, we talked about this the other night, and that's going to be yeah, it's going to be a lot of information in there that I'm going to use.
See, I told you it's my favorite database. I freaking love that
I can tell.
database. If every
shall-
astronomical database could be exactly like exoplanet.eu, my life's goals would be complete. So.
Eric, did you have a question? You raised your hand temporarily.
No, I just wanted to give a thumbs up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought that was a thumbs up button.
Okay.
Okay, John, were you going to go into a business meeting?
Yes.
Could I indulge real quick before Jupiter or for Venus sets?
Yes.
Okay, let's see if this works.
Please diverge. Engage.
There it is, live, coming to you. The planet Venus.
Hey.
Yay!
Yeah.
Barely above my neighbor's house right now, and that's
Way to go, John.
probably about the best focus I can get on it. No.
Yeah,
Look at that turbulence.
Yeah, you can see, well, it's down there, maybe only, 25 degrees above the horizon, right over the neighbor's
Yeah.
house, who had all kinds of sun. Here's the wide angle. That's the zoom shot. Here's the wide angle shot, so it's not so bad there, yeah. So anyway, let's go on, and if later somebody wants to look at the moon, we'll do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody need to stand up for a second? Stretch their legs?
Go for it.
Whew.
Oop. Caught on my
Has
camera.
anyone noticed in the Zoom meetings that we're a lot like the Hall of Portraits in Harry Potter? And sometimes you even, the character will leave their own.
And we got to go into the Linda Hall Library. This is a very interesting book. If I don't know if you can see me zoom in on it. Can you
No,
see
Jim.
can you see the author?
Oh
at the
yeah.
top?
Yes,
Copernicus.
Copernicus.
Yep. It was interesting that they did not use gloves when handling this book, the books, and there was a reason for that. Is that using gloves tended to damage the book more than if you didn't, because you don't have the same tactile feel.
Interesting.
I think that was what the explanation was. John, you were there too, right? I think that was what they were saying, that they didn't wear the gloves because it might tear it more with you couldn't grab it as well with the gloves.
I think that, yeah, I mean, I remember them saying that. I can't remember the exact reasons why they said it. Yeah.
If I can pipe in, you guys, it's an ergonomics thing. When you put on gloves, you lose some dexterity, and you'll apply more pressure to lift something, to grab and lift something. So we have a lot of nerves just in the tips of our fingers, lots of nerves. I mean, they all end there. So that's why they probably didn't want to have gloves. You'd probably do more damage to it. So.
Gosh, I would give a lot of money to touch that book.
Lee, you're something else.
Thanks, John.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Well, my biggest wow moment in my life has probably been seeing one of Newton's original reflectors, telescope in the London Museum. But yeah, I know the feeling. It's like,
Yeah. Some of this old stuff, it's just amazing.
Okay, let's get into this. And we need to click into that. And now we're going into the business meeting. Okay. All right. Secretary's report.
Okay. Okay, Secretary's report. The April 2020 OAS meeting was held on Friday, April 3rd, over the Zoom app at 7:30 p.m. We had 39 members logged in at the time the meeting started. No guests. AstroPark use, no one reported using AstroPark in March. John Larson reminded us of all the various OAS member benefits. Awards, we had no awards in April. I'm sorry, in the previous month in March. Steve Skinner was no longer awards chairman, so the position at that time was vacant. Observing, Sonali gave us a brief presentation on April observing events to look forward to, including Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn in the mornings, and Venus passing near the Pleiades on April 3rd, and the peak of the Lyrid meteor shower on April 21st and 22nd, and two comets, Comet Pan-STARRS and Comet Atlas. Outreach. Outreach, we had a very short list of things because there were none, courtesy of COVID-19. Some members are trying to work on ways for doing some virtual outreach events. At the time of our April meeting, Mizral was still scheduled to take place in Jenks. Nebraska Star Party is still scheduled for July 19th through 24th. And then Steve Skinner mentioned some outreach sessions he'd done at his new residence, incorporating social distancing, inviting people to step out on their balconies and look at the third quarter moon and the planets and the Pleiades. Telescope loan program. Stafford Pellish told us that the 11 by 80 binoculars had been returned, and the newly donated Celestron 4SE was available for checkout. The black Orion Dob and the 80 millimeter refractor had been checked out. Tool time. We didn't have an official tool time at the April meeting, but Steve Skinner gave us a demonstration
of an electronic moon map, Moon Globe for iOS. Unfortunately, it's only available for iOS and not Android, but it includes lots of information on the moon and uses actual photos, not drawings or illustrations. Kim Moss Allen talked about a bright halo she saw around the moon on the evening of April 1st. And then there was some discussion of possible ways to show Comet Atlas to people while observing social distancing rules should it get bright. John Johnson used Carte de Ciel to show everybody the path of Comet Atlas through Ursa Major. And then Louis Dorland showed the group a new sunspot on the sun. Program, we didn't have any programs for the April meeting, but it was agreed we would attempt a virtual program for the May meeting, which of course we just heard. Thank you, Lee. Business meeting, I read the minutes, and a motion to accept them was made by Cletus and seconded by Steve Condrey and was passed. Treasury report presented by Michael Gallagher. For March, we had $200 worth of income from dues and a $120 donation from Anthony Schism via the Union Pacific Fund for Effective Government PAC Charitable Gift Program. And we also received $21.20 from Amazon Smile. Expenditures, $166.38 for a telescope case. So account balance at the beginning of the month was $11,792.97. At the end of the month, it was $11,792. I'm sorry, that was the balance at the end of the month, $11,792.97. We didn't have a report from Vice President as Rodney was not there. Stella update, Steve Condry's taken over production of the Stella newsletter, and John thanked Steve for taking over this responsibility. We had no additional old business to discuss. New business, John mentioned that the setup of a Discord server for OAS is complete. The address is now published in the minutes and in Stella. You have to be approved by John in order to log into the server. We thanked Kristen for setting up the Zoom meeting and recording it. And then a motion to close was made by Sonali Deshmukh and seconded by Steve Condry and passed. And the next meeting was scheduled to be held on May 1st as a Zoom virtual meeting. And that's the minutes for April.
Okay, remember to file a motion, please unmute and state your name. Are there any corrections or addition to the minutes that anyone may have? Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as read?
Oh, hold on, John, a second real quick.
Yeah.
I was at Astro Park for one time in March, so
in March,
if you could amend the meeting minutes for that.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
And that was Cletus?
That was Cletus.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Rodney.
Okay.
Rodney B. Okay. The motion has been made and seconded to accept the minutes as amended. All those in favor say aye. You can.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That
Aye.
works. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Oh, Diana raised her hand. We got some more hand raised. There you go. Good. All right. First, second. Okay, treasurer's report.
So April, we had $149.98 in total income, all of it from dues. Expenditures, $92 for a year's rental of the post office box, $150 for recognitions for science fair for 2 students who also are now members for a year, and I don't know what other ways we recognize them. They are, I think, around 8th grade or something like that. Total expenditures was $242. The account balance at the end of the month is $11,775.94. We still have about 11 members probably that didn't pay their dues this month. We did drop about 5 people last month, or during at the beginning of this month. I only give about three months or so, after the not sending notices that they are, and one person did move too, went to Wisconsin. Didn't pay them. I've sent the membership list to Astronomical League for the reflector. We will pay them in June every year for our members to be members of the Astronomical League, and took care of filed our taxes so we can remain a tax exempt organization. That's it for the month, with any consequence.
Thanks, Mike. Are you sending? You don't send notifications to say that they're lapsed, are you? I think you are.
I'm sorry?
Do you send a notification to the people when they are expiring?
The ones that are going to expire in May, I will send a notice in the next couple of days, probably tomorrow. Okay. I sent that early in the month, and then the next month I send another notice, and the next month I send another notice, and the next month I send another notice. If after that they haven't responded, then I drop them from the list.
Okay. My only concern is because we're not meeting in person, that people wouldn't be able to hand over dues in person. But there's the web page, and
most people can handle PayPal or send a check.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say about the ability to send it to the post office box and the PayPal.
Yeah.
In case people were listening in the meeting,
they make arrangements to bring it over, but but I don't think people are going to do that.
No, probably not.
I did. Mike likes to have visitors.
Oh yeah, John brought it.
Yeah, we want to keep our postal service around.
Only reason coming, of course, but.
There are a couple of members, or just a very few, who don't do internet or email or anything. So I think we need to be lenient, especially in this.
If I don't have their email, then I would mail to them with a physical letter.
Okay.
There isn't anybody that doesn't, I don't contact.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. I'd be lenient too. I think everybody gets a chance to, say what they think.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Vice President's report.
Oh, did we get a motion for the treasurer's report?
I don't think you have to vote.
No, we don't have to vote on the treasurer.
Okay, we don't. Okay.
Unless you know something I don't know.
It's included in the secretary's report next month, and that's what we really vote on.
Okay.
That makes sense. All right, I haven't been out to Astro Park this month. I had another job that I missed last month's meeting. I was working Friday night, but I'm not working that job anymore. So, but I am still working 2 jobs, and it's usually late by the time I get home after dark. So I haven't been out to Astro Park. I'll make sure that I get out there very soon. Apparently there was Bill said the lighthouse had blown over. And then last night, Larson said something about getting some of the blue water for like RV stuff from like Walmart or something. I really think that's a good idea. I think we should do that. But if it was tipped over, it might be nasty inside, so you might have to like take a power washer to it to spray it out. Thoughts on that?
When we were out there on the 3rd, it was bone dry. So if it blew over, there's probably not much of a mess,
Okay.
if at all.
Don't we have that serviced? What do they put in it when they service it?
I think they serviced it in February.
So don't
And
they put anything in it when they do
They
that?
do. It probably evaporated over time,
Okay.
but it had been at least 2 months by the time I looked at it in April. So that might be something, Rodney, that we check just to see what the condition is when you do go out there. Once we refill it, of course.
And since I'm trying to think, since they did service it in February and I hope nobody had been out there and it was still winter time, I think maybe I told them that I would call when it needs serviced. So, but I'm not
Okay.
sure. I was looking for that for the invoice that Mike sent me, and I cannot find it in my email.
I probably still have it, of course. I'm sure that I have it.
If you could resend it to me, I will call them and see if they can just service it, unless.
Well, I wouldn't. You're talking about putting something, a liquid in it. They don't have to come out and do that, do they? It means not much for service if it isn't being used.
Well, what happened was that we had members out there and it wasn't available to use for them when they were there. I don't think they had to use it, but the possibility of them using it, and if well, I don't have to go into detail on the lighthouse, but there are a couple possible ways. I mean, if I cart a bunch of water out there and we get some blue stuff, technically we're servicing it.
Yeah.
But I'm not taking the stuff out.
I would say that we've got all kinds of money in our treasury, and there's no reason not to have somebody professional service it.
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, we could get the RV stuff and I could get water from my place because I'm fairly close. I could get some water out there, and if we could, I don't know if it's, I have no idea what the RV thing you're talking about. I don't know if it's a tablet or what, but if it'd be great to have it serviced, but if we take care of it now and get some liquid in it at least, then we can, when we have it serviced in, a month or 2 months, then it'd be a lot easier on the treasury.
They have special things they use so that they can clean it out. And as I recall, it didn't take them long to show up to do it.
Okay.
So having it done, and, I would hate for us to put something in it and have them go, oh, no, I'm not going to be messing with this because somebody else messed with it. I don't know if there's any rules or regulations or preferences they have.
I suppose that's true. Yeah, we might use something that they couldn't be able to dispose
Yeah,
of.
I would just hate to do that. So
yeah.
all good intentions aside, I think we need to give them a call, let them service it.
Yeah, that's a good call, Nina.
Yeah, I agree with Nina, because you never know, that it might say something in their contract that if we do something and it's spoiled, it's.
Yeah, agreed.
No, there's none of that.
No, I don't know, but.
There's none of that. And if you buy it from a place that sells it for taking care of outhouses, it's going to work.
Okay.
If it needs to be serviced, have it serviced.
Okay. Well, one thing that did happen is that when we went with them, they started to service it every month, which means that we would have exhausted our budget for that item in 4 months, because we've only budgeted like $200 for it.
Yeah, it was $50 a month or something like that.
Yeah, so we were thinking once a quarter.
We had been able to do it on call.
Yes.
And so if we continue just setting it up as, when we call you, please come do it, because it doesn't get a lot of use out there. So it doesn't need to be done every month.
No.
When I was treasurer, I think we did it once a year, just to do it once a year.
something about that also, John, is I mean, when you're talking about a budget, it's a guideline. It's not an absolute.
Okay.
So, I wouldn't worry too much about the money because we have a ton of it.
Okay. I wouldn't mind taking water out there anyway to see if it has a leak. Maybe that's why it drained out if there's nothing in it.
That could be.
That's a possibility.
And
Well,
if
tell
that's
you
the
what,
case,
here-
if it does have a leak, we can request that they replace it. They move things in and out all the time. It just happens that ours hasn't need replacement for some number of years, but it's easy to get them to just haul a new one in.
And if it has a leak, that may be why it was empty and it blew over.
Yeah.
Well, and something like that.
Maybe I could figure out a way to weight it down too. Well, but I from my understanding that it was actually ours and it didn't belong to anybody else, and they might not be able to bring another one out because it's nobody else's equipment.
I can't imagine
I
that.
wouldn't worry about it until you look at it. You're beating this thing to death for what?
Well, the other thing is if we do own that and they bring another unit out, they may charge us monthly for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was looking into that.
Whether
They're
they
not
service
cheap.
it or not.
Yeah, and they're not cheap to replace it.
Okay. Well, that's probably something we'll have to see as we come to it. But
I'll at least get some water in it out there. I'll get something in it. I'll in the next few days I'll get it taken care of and check it and make sure that it's not leaking. And because if it was going to evaporate, you figured it'd probably evaporate. And, it wouldn't
Over a
evaporate
longer
that
period.
quickly in February.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main thing right now is to get it upright.
Okay.
If it's still
Yeah,
on its back, it needs to become upright.
I agree with that. I could probably do that by myself.
Okay. Thanks, Rodney. Let me know how you fare with that.
All right, I will definitely do that, John.
Okay. Thanks. Let's see. Old business. I talked about Discord last month. We had one person sign up from me talking about it at the meeting. So hopefully it's in the Stella this month. So I think we'll have a bit more uptake on that.
What's a Discord?
It is a chat server. So it's essentially a way for us to discuss and share photos that's not publicly on the internet. And people don't have to worry about possible stalking if it's a private server. Because there's all sorts of that stuff on the internet. So
A lovely name, Discord.
yes. Well, it originally started for people who were doing gaming. But a lot of other groups started to use it in the last several years. And even after COVID-19, there was an extremely large uptake. So there was knitting groups in there and some Rotary clubs started to set up. So there's a lot of various organizations that are using it as a communications platform. And we've done some sharing, like we have observation reports, astrophotography. When Steve publishes Stella, I put a copy of the Stella in there so that it's also in there as well. It's another place to find it. Yeah, it's just in there. And I've put a whole bunch of frequently asked questions as different channels where you can read the channel information and it tries to answer any of those common questions.
So this is someplace you could share information, but it's less public, obviously, than Facebook.
Yes. So it'd only be for members.
I have a suggestion, John Larson. I'm wondering if you could maybe do a tool time on it,
Uh-huh.
and then
I
we would just see it and how it works.
I was thinking about a presentation.
Oh, a full presentation. Okay, then.
Yes.
All right.
Because it would probably take half an hour to 45 minutes. More like, let's go in together. Let's go and
Gotcha.
explore, and you know, that kind of a involvement. But yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Then I'd have a better idea of what it is I'm getting into.
Mm-hmm. Sure. New business.
And that's something that you can always compare against our database and know that those are real people in there and the people use their real name.
That's part of the rules, is you have to use your real name. And I have to approve them. So the channels are set up such that you have to have an OAS member role to be able to see any of the content. So when somebody joins, say Cleek joined, I got to look them up, say, okay, I know who that is. And then I put the role, and then he sees all the channel content. I've got a whole code of conduct written up and everything too. So.
All right.
Any other comments on that? Okay.
When were you thinking of doing a presentation on that? How soon?
It would probably be July. Unless Lee, I have to check Lee's list of individuals.
We actually might have John Johnson. Do we have Abigail Bullenbach due in July?
Okay. I sent her a email. I haven't heard back yet. I was we were toying with that idea, but now that I was holding off until we knew for sure what our new meeting date was going to be for sure. But she, if we wanted to push her out, that would, I'm sure, would not be a problem with her. If John, and it might be something. Yeah, we probably, if we're going to promote this Discord thing, and we probably ought to have a good prezo explaining all the details.
Especially if we're recording it in Zoom, then it's a good reference material. September and October do not have any names in it in the spreadsheet that you sent me, Lee. So
let me check it real
spaces
fast.
To move around. Okay.
Hang on. Yeah, September, October are free, but I've got Ilya is going to do one, and I don't know which one he's going to take. So I'm going to probably, because Rodney is going to do June, so we could have Ilya do September or October. And then either Abigail can do July, or she could do, let's say, September or October. So I just need to know if you want to do July and we want to push Abigail to September or October, and then we could put Ilya in whatever one she doesn't take.
Yeah,
that'll work.
Yep. Let's just tentatively plan for that.
Okay.
That sounds good, but John, I think you should do a brief tool time at the next meeting just to make it more visible.
I mean, it could be a little chunks every tool time. Here's how to log in. Okay, great. Here's how to post a picture. Things like that.
I think logging in is going to be the big one.
Yeah, it's different. So,
what about sending an email to people with instructions?
It's in the Stella.
It's in, yeah, it's in
the
the Stella.
I did see it in the Stella, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
New business, July meeting date. So the first Friday of July is the 3rd. And because if it's proximity to the holiday that Saturday, there was a discussion possibly to move it to Friday, July 10th.
Just because we used to do it.
One of the reasons that we moved the July meeting in the past has been the activities at Memorial Park across the street from our normal meeting place.
Yeah, that's really
That's
close.
the reason.
And that isn't an issue this year, I don't think.
No.
So, unless anybody else is going to go out and raise hell on the 4th of July, 3rd of July weekend, I see no reason not to hold it on July 3rd anyway.
Nor do I. Only if you want to maintain the tradition of changing it. But it won't be for the same reason.
I will say that we will probably not be back at UNO until September.
And I can't think of any reason you're going to be there then.
But it'll be as it goes. But I know that the summer camps are all going to be virtual at UNO. So that being on campus is not going to happen. Doing it virtually that Friday is not that hard for me or us, but it depends upon availability. If Krista's available to help run it.
Can we table this till next month, or do we need 2 months to decide this?
It would be nice to have it in the Stella for next month, so that way it's a whole month ahead before that meeting, rather than the Stella comes out that week of the meeting, and then they have the information.
Well, if I can just ask the folks that are here, how many folks are going to be on vacation that weekend? Like you're not going to be in town, or you wouldn't be by a computer for a Zoom meeting.
I may not be around.
I will be. I don't have vacation until the Star Party if we're still having it. So
That's a good thought, though, because there's a lot of people that take vacation around 4th of July. I don't know if that's true this year.
It's true.
But that is true.
Yeah.
I'm not, but there's a lot of people that do.
Well, it depends on how many people are able to travel, even if they take a vacation, and it's going to be a stay-home vacation.
It's not going to be different than it is right now.
No,
yeah,
I agree.
I don't think so.
I agree with Mike. I think we ought to just keep it the 3rd and just let the chips fall where they may.
I agree.
I agree also.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm okay with that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I agree as well.
And planning on keeping it virtual unless we have a change.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
I doubt there'll be a change.
September.
But again, I think Krista, can you manage this on July 3rd in your schedule?
I definitely have no schedule set up. Travel plans for me are still kind of up in the air. Sometimes we go to grandma's house, but I could log in there just as easily as my house.
And I could run it too. I mean, you giving me the ability to host, right?
Yeah. I give you the ability to host it prior to. And I've got it set up for like tonight. A bunch of people joined before I got on. I don't know. Present.
Krista sounds like she's on a spaceship.
Oh, I was going to say, is anybody else hearing Kim or hearing?
Yeah, she sounds like she's on Doctor Who.
It's a USB headset.
Yeah.
Just unplug it and plug it back in. It's the chip. We call that Cyloning.
Yeah, right. I love it.
I call it Doctor Who and whoever those people were that were trying to wipe out the human race, you know?
The Daleks.
The Daleks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I see someone put an exterminate.
Okay, so Krista, can you handle July 3rd hosting or whatever?
Just no problem.
You still sound like a Terminator or whatever they are.
You can put it in chat. You don't have to.
She said yeah.
She said yes. Okay.
Can we fucking end this meeting? It's after 10.
Okay. Hot mic. All right.
Hot mic.
The next meeting is Friday, June 5th in Zoom. The same URL that you used tonight will also be effective for that meeting. It's the same information. So please file a motion, or to file a motion, please unmute and state your name. Is there a motion to adjourn the business meeting?
So moved.
Bill, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Too many. I couldn't
Everybody at the
tell.
same time. Everybody at the same time now.
I'll say Eric.
Okay, thank you. Hey, one question I had before. Do we need to save this, or will you send out another? Will this be this URL for the Zoom meeting? Will it come with the Stella again? Or?
It's in the Stella. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
We were worried about publishing it publicly, like as a URL on the website.
Yes,
to
I
prevent
agree.
Zoom bombing.
Good for you. Good for you.
So-
I agree. Yeah, it should
That's the thing.
be members only for the time being.
Well, anybody can
Well,
get
we
it.
do have guests, so
Yeah, anybody can go to that website and take the newsletter.
You do have a motion on the floor.
yes. The motion has been made and seconded to adjourn the business meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, better not. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
That-
John.
The affordable things of the duties are complete. You're welcome, Bill. Thank
And
you.
many thanks to Lee for a great presentation.
Yes, that was very good.
Yeah, Lee, that was
Oh,
awesome.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you very
I'm
much, Lee.
glad my
Good job.
computer didn't die on us all. So,
Fantastic.
thank you.
Very good.
All right, somebody was talking about Daleks, and I would have to share that this Saturday night, the very first episode of Daleks on Doctor Who will be on Iowa Public Television.
Oh, wonderful. What time?
I think it's 11:30 Saturday night.
Okay,
Pretty sure it's 11 p.m.
that's okay.
I'm sorry, yeah, not 11:30, 11.
Regardless, Krista, that was your entree.
You have is that a clown mask, Louis?
Yes. Why? Yes, it is.
It's cute. Very nice. Very nice.
I intended to chat with him the last 20 minutes to see why he thinks things are contagious and gonna infect him or something.
An alien.
I like the Cylon. Yeah, that
No, she's
that
a
goes
dial-
way back.
She's a dialogue.
Cylon.
So, John Johnson.
So what else? You want to see the moon?
Sure. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. I'm waiting for Lauren to do a backflip.
Yeah, and the
In the space station.
Yeah.
there's the moon live.
Nice.
Very nice.
Oh, all right.
The scene's a little. The scene is a little messed up tonight.
Is that over your? That's not over your neighbor's house in that shot, is
No,
it?
that's straight over above now. Yeah. I was trying to get it to zoom in here, and it for some reason it won't. It won't zoom in for me now. It was working a little bit ago.
John, how big's your Schmidt Cassegrain?
At the 10-inch Meade LX200, yeah. But I wanted to show you the straight wall right there. But for some, there it comes. There it goes. You can see the scene is not the best tonight. Pretty wiggly. But you can see the straight wall. What's interesting is how many people see there was an ancient crater there.
John, you're not coming in.
Okay, hang on.
You're not coming in.
We'll try it
Not
again
coming
here.
in at all.
It's grayed
Okay.
out.
I think
Not
it's
at all.
sharing
Okay.
the app versus sharing the entire screen.
Okay. All right. Let's get back. We'll try it again here.
Cracking me up.
Okay. Resume share. Now you see it?
Yes.
Yes, we
Yes,
can
but
see
it's
it.
not zoomed in.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try the zoom. Now do you see it?
No.
No zoom.
Oh,
No, there's no
okay.
zoom.
Gray.
No, there's no
Okay,
zoom.
hang on. I'll leave it in zoom mode and then stop share and then go back to share. How about that? Now can you see it?
Ah,
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
oh, I see it.
Oh, now you can see it.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's cool.
You can see the scene is a little rough now.
What is that?
That is the straight wall, it's a fault line. I don't know, what is it? Probably 80, 90 miles long.
Wow.
Now, last night it was just, area was just starting to get out of shadow, and it was absolutely breathtaking, and the scene was just crisp as all get out last night. So,
Now, what mare is that, John?
I'm sorry.
What
My
mare
telescope.
is that?
See, this is the standard old Meade Classic LX200.
No, the mare.
The location.
Oh, the Mari, the Mari. Oh, you would.
Janine put it in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, where's
Rupus recta.
Oh, well, that's what
Well,
it's
that's
called.
the straight wall. Straight wall is Rupus recta, yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a Mari area here, but if anything has ever been designated for this ancient crater that's all flooded out there with the.
We only had
Let's
some
see
app.
let's see if I can go back. Now, did you guys lose it then?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I got to.
This one.
Okay. Of course, now you'll probably still there.
Yep.
Okay.
Not zoomed.
So yeah, that's right there. Let's. Here we can see it in the box. That's what the zoom part is. There's Copernicus on the left there, just coming into view. And then that other crater right there is called Eratosthenes. Now, there again, I suppose I'll have to go, if I go to zoom, yeah, I'm going to have to stop share and then go back to share. Okay.
John, it's in Mare Nubium.
Great, thanks, Bill. I have my moon atlas here somewhere, but
John,
okay.
I think,
As I said, there's. Did it drop out again?
no, I was going to say that when you're sharing, instead of sharing a single app, if you share your whole screen, then it will. Then you can
okay.
move around.
Like no color.
No. Well, there's nothing to have color.
There's Copernicus, Eratosthenes, and there's the Apennine Mountains. We zoom on down a ways.
Huh.
I mean, those peaks are always amazes me right here.
Yeah.
Those Apennine Mountain peaks are just amazing.
With the shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, it's.
John, do you know how many meters or how many feet tall they are?
Well, I think this one right here is Mount Hadley, and if memory serves me right, I don't know who's got a database up. It's about 15,000 feet, I think, from the datum, what they call sea level or whatever they want to call it there. Now, if you look real close, you see that little tiny crater come in and out there? That's Hadley Crater, and it's not sharp
Just
enough
above the
to see the, there's a little rill that runs right in here, and that's, well, there caught it just briefly when it cleared for a second. That's where Apollo 15 landed.
Oh.
Almost 50 years ago now.
Really?
And of course, there's Archimedes.
Those Apennines, those are kind of curved. Is that remnants of an old impact
well,
crater?
the whole, okay, back to the big view, and I still don't know how to do this. Okay. See, this whole basin's called Mare Imbrium.
Okay,
and that
yeah.
was obviously a huge hit, many billions of years ago, and that's still the rim. And of course, it all welled up with lava, filled it in then back when the moon was molten. Okay, a couple more here. Come on. I need to speed up my controller a little bit here. Now, let's see if I... Yeah, see, you're sharing this. Okay. Okay, I don't know how to do this, but we'll get you back there. Oops. This one. There we are. Interesting one here. I can't remember the name. Bill, you got your atlas? With the, obviously an older crater there where the younger craters smacked it right in the middle. Here's what we call the Alpine Valley. And on really sharp, clear nights, I have detected in my 10-inch, there's a tiny rill that runs down the bottom of that valley there. And of course, over here we have Plato. And there again, on a steady, clear night, you can see little tiny craterlets on the floor of Plato, but unfortunately not tonight. Anyway, what else?
John.
Yes.
What is your aperture you have set on your camera?
Well, the camera's just plugged right into the...
I didn't know if you were making a change to not make it as bright on the... oh, there you go. You've got...
I could... let's see. If I slow the shutter speed down, it brightens it there a little bit.
I didn't see that before.
Yeah,
cool.
See, that's about all I can do. I can change the ISO then, too.
Yeah, John, you're at prime focus, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just prime focus, 2500 millimeter focus, of course. And then zoom mode, I think this is a 5x zoom mode. There's Ptolemy, Alphonsus. That's an interesting one there, that larger peak in the center. Back to the straight wall.
for the straight wall, do they know how much of a elevation change it is from one side to the other side?
I just read that.
Go ahead.
I just read that, and it's like 1,000-foot cliff, if I remember correctly. If the information I got was correct.
I've heard something in that neighborhood, 800 to 1,000 feet. Now it's not really like a real sharp cliff based on they pictures they've gotten from lunar orbiters and everything. It's a fairly gradual slope up it, but still it does change that much in elevation there.
Yeah, I was just wondering, due to the fact that we could actually see it.
Okay, here's an interesting. You can just barely. This whole crater is called Descartes, but every now and then you see it pop and clear. There's a little craterlet chain here that's always fun to look at. It obviously was a smaller meteor hit that had a whole bunch of pieces that just boom, 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 boom down the line there. There's Tycho coming into view here now. Here you can see some of these craters now. They're just light. This is Tycho right here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or Tycho if you want to pronounce it correctly. Yeah. You see sunrises is just starting to come in those couple of those little spots right there. Clavius.
Shadow. The sun's here.
Interesting shadow here, yeah. That's why I, when you're stuck in the city, I never tire of looking at the moon. If you get a good crisp night, it's obviously not, the scene is not that good tonight, but.
Crater.
Is Jeff still on? Jeff Purcell?
He is.
Okay. I think, Jeff, here's another one of these transient things that's always fun. We're obviously about a day late on this one. This is called Hesiodus, and this is called Pietatis, I think. When you get the right sun angle, you'll get just a spike of sunlight through that little cleft in the rim down across Hesiodus. Also, yeah, you see, this is the I can't remember if it's the Hesiodus or Pietatis rill right there showing up.
Oh yeah, see
it.
I wish it was a sharper night. Yeah.
Rima Hesiodus.
Rima Hesiodus, that's right. The rill right there, yeah.
If you look to the left of that, you see those two little craters, and it almost looks like a little dog face with 2 ears.
Yeah. Well, that's what's the fun of, you know. Just sit and look at the moon, and yeah, there's see all kinds of little faces and.
The first quarter must have been yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, we're about 1 day past. Let's see if I switch back to whole view. You've lost it again. Okay. The other thing I noticed, and we talked about it the libation of the moon. See how close Mare Crisium is to the edge? Obviously, the moon has rocked from left to right, almost making the Sea of Crises almost on the edge. There's been, if it rocks the other way, you can see a lot more of around the edge of the moon on that side.
Yeah.
This is always, you say, oh, you can't make out any features when you get away from the Terminator, but there's features that show up that really are kind of strange. There's an interesting bow. There's a really bright crater right here, right by Crisium, that's splayed out in odd directions. Of course, you can see some rays. Some of these rays stretch all the way across the moon from Tycho up here. Tycho's too close to the Terminator yet to really. You can see some of them spraying out there. And I think this one here may even be a Tycho, material sprayed out when that whatever hit there and created Tycho. So this is a way to do some virtual astronomy, if everything works. You get clear skies and beautiful evening. Anyway, hey, if everybody wants to take off and head to bed, don't feel you have to stay here. I might dink around a little bit longer, but